Hi, my name is John Tisbury and with me today is Charlie.
Hello everyone.
And today Charlie and I are going to show you how to use a light meter for studio photography. So we'll run the intro and we'll see you on the other side. So I said in the intro, we're going to concentrate on using a light meter to measure the light that's coming out from our studio lights. We're talking here about flash, so monoblocks or strobes, whatever you want to call them, it's the same principle. And for that we're going to use this Sekonic, it's an L-358, which is a very popular model. Lots and lots of photographers and studios have this particular model, so if it's the same model as yours, then super. If it isn't, don't worry, because the principles are very much the same, and whatever the technique I'm showing you, you can apply to your own particular model. Model as in that, but also model as in double meaning. So what I said was we're going to measure the light coming from our light, and when you're in a studio you need to make a few decisions. So for instance, when I'm doing my studio photography, I'll set my camera up with three basic settings. So I'll be setting the ISO, typically that's at 200. I'll be setting the shutter speed, again typically 1/25 of a second, and I'll also choose my aperture, which will typically be f8. So what I need to do is to have a light meter which will allow me to then take a measurement to ensure that my light is set at f8, so it's then picking up the correct exposure when I take the shot. Now the light meter itself, they've got this little lumisphere on here, this little white dome, and that's important to have that out, as it were, because this particular model you can also sink it back down as well. But the reason you want it out is that the dome picks up all of the light, surrounding light. So it's picking up light from the light on the side here, off to Charlie's side. It's also picking up light from this side, from above, from below, and it's averaging all those values and working out what the exposure would be for an average grey, if you like. And that's your exposure that you're going to be setting on your camera. Okay, so that's good. We'll got that sorted. The thing we need to consider is where we actually point this light meter, because depending on where we point it will actually give us different meter readings. So that's the bit I wanted to spend some time with and show you some examples. So we'll talk through the theory here. I'll then take some photographs, bring those up on screen so you can actually then have a look at them. So we've got a softbox set up here already. It's a big Elinchrom, it's an octo box, it's 135 centimetre, but it's relevant really, it's, you know, whatever softbox you've got will work exactly the same principle. I've just realised I haven't got my little trigger to actually trigger the light, so I'm just going to go and get that. It's still on my camera.
Helpful.
Yeah. Planning. Lack of. There we go. So with a light meter, I'll cut to this close up so you can see what I'm doing, because you won't be able to see from that far away. But I'm turning it on. I've already pre-dialed in my ISO 200, and I've already pre-dialed in my shutter speed at 1/25. And as I said earlier, I know I want f8 on my camera. It's already set up, so I want f8 to appear on my light. So I'll adjust my light to get f8. And as I was saying, depending on where I position this meter will depend on the exposure that I get. So for instance, if you position it back to the light, so that the light's off to the side, which hopefully you'll get a feel of that there, so you can just see the edge of it on the screen. And I'm just pressing the button on the side, and that sets the meter into waiting for the flash to go off. If I fire the flash, it will then give me a meter reading. It's currently at f18, so it's quite bright. But we'll bear with that for a second, I won't change that. But what I would normally do is then bring that light down in terms of its power to get to f8, and then I'm all done. But by positioning the meter to the light, it's obviously going to be measuring the highlights that are falling on Charlie's face. So I'm going to be preserving the highlights. If I bring the meter to the front here and perform the same exposure, trigger, it then shows me f13. So you can see there's a difference between the two exposures there. They're both right in terms of, they'll be exposed properly, but one will be preserving the highlights. That's the one where it's pointing to the light. And then this setting here, for this position, where I'm pointing the light meter back towards the camera, will preserve all the shadow detail down on this side. Difficult to see here because we've got video lights set up as well, which is making it difficult for you to see the output of that. But basically what's happening here is that all of the light is being taken in by the dome when I'm pushing the light in that direction, pushing the light meter in that direction. Whereas if I bring it around the front, some of the light from the softbox is going into the lumisphere there, but the rest of the shadow area and the ambient light round here is also filling in on the lumisphere, and then that's averaging out, which is why there's the difference in the two readings. So I'm going to take some photos. I'm just going to change that light so it's not quite so bright at f18. So let's turn this down a switch.
What should it be, f8?
Yeah. Check that. So let's just do another reading there. Oh, didn't press the button. That's cool. So F9.
I don't think I've ever worked in a studio where they haven't used the meter reading. Ever.
No, most.
Everyone has one, don't they?
Yeah. Your camera won't be able to.
Oh, nicely done.
Yes. So your camera internal meter won't be able to measure the exposure because the flash is so quick, so instant that the camera meter just doesn't have a chance of being able to meter it. So the only way you can meter it is through a handheld meter. So we've got f8 here. Let's bring around the front. And then we've got 6.3 on this one. Okay, so again, difference between the two. So what I'll do is take two shots. I'll take one at f8 and then one at 6.3, and we'll have a look at how those look. I'll get the camera. So f8. This one again, you might find a little bit difficult here to see because we've got mine on mirror locker because we've got it set up with all of the. That's fine. Just turn some of these video lights off for a second, just make it a little bit easier for you to see. So let's think, oh, that's gorgeous. Excellent. Super. And now I'm going to adjust my camera to 6.3, which was our other exposure. Okay, so I'll bring those up on the screen so you can see them. And what you'll find is you've got the two images there. The first one, which is at f8, which will be preserving the highlight detail, the detail on the side of Charlie's face. And then the second one, which is at 6.3, that'll be preserving the shadow detail. So I say neither are right or wrong. It purely depends on what you want from your image, from your portraits or from your images that you're taking. So it's a consideration in terms of where you point the meter to the camera or to the light will give you a different reading. So that's it. That's our tutorial for today. So I hope you found that useful. If you have, then drop some comments below in the comment area. I've also put a description of all the gear that we're using here as well. So if you're not sure what we're actually using in terms of light meter and softbox and the like, that's all in the description, so have a pop down there. If you like what you've heard and seen, then please consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed, and remember to hit the notification bell icon to be notified of new updates as and when they appear. So that's us.
Yay, it's
So,
all over.
yeah,
What
there'll
a
be
shame.
more.
I'll be back. Don't worry about that.
All right. See you later.
Bye guys.
Bye.